What exactly is your role in the?
Well, I'm the president of the church in South Australia.
Okay.
There's actually a book entitled The Great Controversy,
Yeah.
and that one I think you're reading there is what's called the Great Controversy Vision.
As the priest entered the most holy once a year to cleanse the earthly sanctuary, so Jesus entered the most holy of the heavenly at the end of 2,300 days of Daniel 8 in 1844 to make a final atonement for all who could be benefited by his mediation and thus to cleanse the sanctuary. And I was just sort of wondering, am I reading that right to say that Christ entered into the Holy of Holies in 1844, but prior to that he was in just the holy place, the sanctuary?
What we are actually dealing with here, I would suggest to you, is a significant amount of symbolism. Because I suppose myself, up in heaven, do I imagine that there is a physical sanctuary similar to the one on earth? Now, there may be, but I haven't actually been there to experience that. Now, one of the really significant things is that, if we're going to argue from Ellen White, and I actually don't like doing that, because to me, doctrine needs to be established from the Word of God, not from Ellen White. So I'm actually a little bit nervous about arguing from Ellen White. But if we're going to go that particular direction, what is actually being referred to when he says he went into the most holy place in 1844? What I'd suggest to you is what you've actually got is is Christ commenced the most holy place ministry in that particular period.
So he wasn't ministering in the holy place before, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying what he was doing before that. He was doing the ministry of the represented by the holy place.
So was he in there, or?
Well, are you? The question, was he in there, presupposes that there is a physical, literal sanctuary in heaven.
What did Ellen G. White say? Can I confuse?
Ellen G. White said that as the priest entered the most holy place once a year to cleanse the earthly sanctuary, so Jesus entered the most holy of the heavenly at the end of 2,300 days of Daniel 8, which is, when it says 2,300 days, it's referring to those years, in the sense of once a year they went into.
Is that what she's referring to?
Yeah.
1844?
In Daniel 8 in 1844.
So she's saying that Jesus entered into the most holy place in 1844. So he had not entered in beforehand. That's literally what she's saying.
Well,
he actually goes on as it continues, as the ministration of Jesus closed in the holy place, which is the sanctuary, and he passed into the holiest and stood before the ark containing the law of God.
Yeah, I think that it's...
And then he sent another angel out.
I think she does. Whether that's your view or not, but I think that she states her view quite clearly, that she believes that Jesus was leaving the holy place and entering to the holy of holies, where the ark of the covenant is. In 1844, 2,300 days or whatever it was, which is represented 1844, isn't it?
Okay, and look, that it's certainly easy to argue that. That's certainly easy to argue. The problem you've got with it is that if we go, the next question...
Well, what would be an alternative view to sort of fit with what Ellen G. White is saying? Let's say it's not a physical tabernacle. What's your view that it would be?
Well, to me, there are two views that you can take. Okay, on this particular issue, you can take an issue that says that there is a literal sanctuary in heaven, and by literal sanctuary we mean a thing that basically replicates what the Jews had on earth, maybe more glorious and all the rest of it, but certainly basically what they had. That's the physical. You can take the alternative view that says, hey, it's more what is in heaven is symbolised by the earthly sanctuary. That's the alternative view. Now,
So either view, whichever view you take, how does that interpret what she's saying? How would you interpret what she's said there? I mean, she did say that Christ had not entered the Holy of Holies. She does make that pretty clear.
This is where, our mind is trying to comprehend heaven, because let me put another scenario to you. Well, a bit of an addendum to it. Should we say that the most holy place of the heavenly sanctuary is the throne room of God? Is that what we are saying? Because could it be because what we do know is that Christ, at his ascension, went to the Father.
Yeah, I mean, this is. I find this a good picture of it here, because it takes that, it takes it and gives it a different terminology.
Where are you reading from?
In Hebrews chapter 9, verse 24. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 24. It says, "For Christ is not entered into the holy places made with hands, which are figures of the true," so representation, copies of the true. But into heaven itself, now to appear in the presence of God for us.
Yes.
So it's more that it gives a different terminology. It goes, yes, he's going to the Father, which is the same, but it actually gives the presence of God, which is, so it says that the earth, the 2 points is that the earthly tabernacle, it says, is a copy of heaven, not the other way around. But then it also says that he enters the presence of God for us.
Correct.
That's where he is,
Yes.
which I would say is the most
So
holy
you say
place.
that the holy.
Well, see, that's
the presence of God,
yes. And that is certainly the view that, to me, I think I would have to accept that normally the most holy place is where God is. But
Well,
is that necessarily correct?
Well, you'd have to think that God is a holy God, and the most holy place would be where God is.
Well, one would assume.
I mean, you would say that there's no more holy place apart from where God is. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and again,
Very
this
good point.
only becomes a problem if you have a view of the temple in heaven as being a physical, literal building.
There is one other perspective that I can see, but then I see all sorts of problems with that in itself, is that it's not so much a location but an application. Like for instance, I mean, that's the only other view I can see,
point, actually.
is that, that he went up,
He
did in application what he would have done in the sanctuary, right? But then in 1844 he did in application what was done in the most holy place. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, well, the problem I have with that is that
She is saying
the final atonement was made in the most holy place in Leviticus 16. The book of Leviticus chapter 16, the one that we talked about.
Yes.
The atonement for the sins of the people, not just the cleansing of the sanctuary, but Leviticus 16 says very clearly that it's the atonement for the congregation, for the people.
Well, confession of sin was made continually over the beasts of the beasts that were going to be sacrificed. That's what was, and then they were slaughtered.
But atonement wasn't fully made. The atonement for the people took place in the most holy place, and when he came out.
Yes, but once again, if you take that as being a symbolic act, which is what I am suggesting, I think fits better, because the older I get, the more I do see the heavenly sanctuary as being, I suppose, illustrative of what is actually occurring here on earth. Help me out, Hank. Help me out, come on.
Whether you want to take it literally or whether from the applicable side, I think she is saying that Christ has not entered into that holy place, so he has not done that. He has not applied his, in one sense, blood for once and for all, as Scripture says. So even from an applicable point of view, whether it's literal or not, whether there's a throne room on, whether there's a thing or not, I think there would be, because that's debatable, as you can say. But I think that she's clearly saying that he has not entered it, or he has not paid it. He has not, in one sense, does it. And you see the problem that presents.
What exactly is your role in the?
Well, I'm the president of the church in South Australia.
Okay.
I'm actually a little bit nervous about arguing from Ellen White.